who's going to be talking about modern ERP platforms. Mike, welcome.
Monica, thank you. Hi, my name is Mike Nesson. I work for SWK Technologies, and we're a national VAR, value-added reseller, for two ERP systems that meet the definition of modern ERP that we'll talk about today. I'm not here to talk about specific ERP systems though. Today I want to talk about what modern ERP is, what is different about it, and give you some additional criteria to help determine if your organization needs it. For me, the conversation will be a success if I can raise your expectations of ERP and what you can do with it. The bonus will be if I can arm you with some new questions to ask the next time you run into somebody like me trying to sell software to your organization. The role of ERP is changing, and it's a meaningful change. Let's get into it. Okay, to get it over with, ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. It's a dumb name. Sometimes I think it causes more confusion than it solves. A quick true story to illustrate. Right before COVID, a professor at a professor at USC asked me to come talk to his entrepreneurial management class. When I got there, the first thing I asked was, does anyone know what ERP stands for? Nothing. Crickets, blank stares. I'll admit, I was surprised. This is a business school with some reputation, and no one there knows what kind of software businesses run on. Apparently, I overshared my disappointment because the temperature in the room changed. You know, blank stares were morphing into stern looks, and I'm thinking, oh great, I'm about to get eaten alive by Gen Z or Gen X. I'm not sure what they were. So I bought a few seconds to think of a recovery by taking a drink of water. And my peripheral vision, I see a young woman come half out of her seat, you know, waving her hand and shouting, "I know what ERP stands for, erotic role playing." You know, and I laughed so hard that I kind of imitated a Rainbird sprinkler with the water I was drinking, and you know, fortunately I didn't hit any students. In that moment, it dawned on me that I had told the class what field I was an entrepreneur in, and in Southern California, you know, actually adult entertainment, I guess, wasn't a bad guess. On the embarrassment scale is off the chart. But despite the embarrassing start, the rest of the class went great. But when I was leaving, I decided the next time I talk to a group about ERP, I'm going to define what it is first. And this is the next time, so here we go. If I use the clicker, right? Okay, back to the title of our talk for a second. The word modern implies that there is an ERP that isn't modern. Today we'll talk about and compare two types of ERP, modern and legacy. What I thought we'd do is this. Modern ERP has 6 capabilities that I think are worth thinking about if you run a business. As we go through these, we'll build a matrix to compare the two types of ERP systems, and then at the end you can form your own conclusions. But first we need to define the environment modern ERP will operate in, and unfortunately I need to introduce one more acronym. BMP is a term I've created for this talk to create a structure for it. Here's what it means. Ultimately, what we're all searching for, whether we've articulated it or not, is a business management platform. How well ERP functions with other applications defines the quality of the BMP. Ultimately, the BMP enabled by a modern ERP will determine your future competitiveness. And the word platform is taken on multiple important meanings today and deserves a minute to define. Connections is a common theme in this talk, and it's a common theme in modern ERP. The BMP gives us a structure so that we can account for all the other digital and software assets that we have. Modern ERP is the conductor that keeps all the applications and people singing from the same sheet music, so to speak. Let's start by diagramming what many of us have now for a business management. We can't call it a platform yet, so we'll call it a system. And you know, what's coming up on the screen now is a very common situation today, even in large organizations. I have one client doing over 250 million in revenue, and what's coming up now is what we're replacing with a modern ERP. Only the blue lines and circles represent connected data. The green lines and circles represent data in other applications or spreadsheets that must be imported or entered manually. Disconnected systems like this one lead to administrative overhead that stifles growth. Eventually, with size or complexity, you'll spend this will send your productivity numbers in the wrong direction. Capabilities in red are totally on their own and usually lead to all kinds of misadventures. The first role of a modern ERP is to rein all of this in. The first attribute of modern ERP is that all the functionality is connected, all blue lines. Where this gets interesting is when we introduce other levels of functionality to our business that don't naturally fit inside the ERP. Where modern ERP really starts to shine is when we add this new layer to it. ERP is great, but we can't live on journal entries alone, so to speak. We all have other functional requirements that don't really fit in ERP. In this example, I've added a commerce site, an HR system, and to keep it a little spicy, some robots. In a functional business management platform, these external functions need to be connected to the ERP in real time and with blue lines. Modern ERP accomplishes with standard protocols to share data between applications called application program interfaces or an API. Now we have a modern BMP, the functionality we need on top of a consistent data model, which sets us up for future success. Okay, this gets us to our first comparison. Modern ERP benefits from industry standard APIs. In a modern ERP, we can reliably exchange data between applications in real or near real time, which is important. The technologies used to develop older ERPs leave a lot of inconsistencies. There's no equivalent to the API, for example, and connected legacy apps tend to require custom programming, tend to be error prone, and are expensive to maintain. We have to look at each business individually, but in a lot of cases, it's now less expensive to adopt a modern ERP than trying to make a legacy ERP play well with others. Okay, this is probably the most important point I'll make today. One of our highest goals should be to achieve what people like me like to call a single source of the truth, or a SOT. The modern ERP is many organizations' opportunity to build one of these. In simplest terms, whatever application I'm in, and if I need customer information, for example, I can only get it from the SOT. If my customer adds a new location, a phone number, whatever it might be, all my applications and people will be able to use it as soon as it is in it. Everything we want in the future, big data, artificial intelligence, business process automation, they all spring from a single source of the truth. Okay, one more step in setting up our stage here, and it's how do we deal with the rest of the world. A clean database isn't that hard to do, actually. What can be difficult is maintaining it as a single source of the truth over time. To do that, well, we need business rules that are reflected in the ERP and control the larger business management platform. Modern ERP is geared towards this role. It will ensure that data coming in and going out is logical and follows the processes that management has established. My red circles represent this logic. To be effective, the business management platform also needs to interact with the outside world, people and systems, while maintaining the business rules that control the data and overall platform. The modern ERP acts as an air traffic controller that keeps all the planes safely in the air, and this is missing in legacy ERP systems. So let's add to our matrix, and then we can talk about how the internet is central to modern ERP. So with a modern ERP, you can actually build a single source of the truth, which can be very difficult to do. In legacy ERP systems, the data tends to be siloed, and there's incompatibilities in the technology that make the single source of truth a difficult thing to do. The modern ERP enforces business rules that underline the single source of truth, and that keeps the single source of truth that way over time. This is hard, in a legacy system. This is really hard to do without the equivalent to an application program interface and consistency between the different modules. Okay, embarrassing, huge audience here, but I should have named the slide a timeout. It might be a better title for this. And I need to explain something really quick. I've been reading a great book called Smart Brevity, and it's about communicating effectively in our time-compressed digital age. and the book gives some great advice. I'd highly recommend it. Probably the best advice in the book is also the hardest to accept. An author's ego can really get in the way of clear communications. And today, that's me. There's a temptation to tell you everything that's in my head, and I really need a book called Smart Brevity. This control ego point came to mind earlier today, and I was looking through the session, and I was reviewing this, and I realized, I might be guilty of wanting to talk too much. So, but what I was about to tell you a long story that really doesn't help much. So instead, I'm going to skip the story and some slides and focus on the moral of the story, if you will. So we don't need that one, or that one. Oh, we did do that one. Okay. That's not the right one. Sorry, I got some animation issues. What's it doing out here? Okay. What I was basically trying to say here is that the world changed with the internet, but we didn't notice it until 1994 when HTML was released. This is how we got to the web browser. HTML 5.0 in 2014 made transactional systems like the modern ERP practical and safe. The reason the world changed, in this theory anyway, is not that we had access to vast stores of information. We've had that for 500 years. Speed and quantity are linear innovations. The world changed because now everyone could publish. Now everyone can be a creator of information, not just a consumer of it. This is proving to be an exponential innovation. So, and you know what, if you fully unpack that, it explains a lot of things that are going on right now. But the follow-up point to that is there are 3.5 billion people using web browsers today. Any remaining resistance to the internet evaporated during COVID. The internet and HTML, for all practical purposes, are both in the public domain. They're not going away. It's where civilization communicates now. And we can expect the rapid pace of innovation to continue. Matter of fact, if history's any guide, we can expect that rate of innovation to accelerate. We can't predict the future, but with the clear standard that's been created by the internet, I think we can reasonably predict that whatever happens in the future, it will happen on the web. One prediction that I think is logical right now is that now that people are fully connected, the next step on the internet is going to be fully connected machines. And I don't mean a dystopian Terminator kind of way, but in a happy, more efficient business process kind of way. It makes sense that as we evolve the use of business management platforms, computers will do our bidding machine to machine, and we need to be able to manage and control that, which is a role that modern ERPs can play very well. And for those of you thinking about the Internet of Things, don't know if anybody's out there doing that, I'm thinking about that too, but that's not what I'm thinking about here. It's more of the transaction communications that are generated by the modern ERP, and as a result, the changes in the data, they come from the changes in the data. Actions that only people can take now on a legacy ERP. The web sets a communication standards for all types of data. Our businesses will benefit from a business management platform that can keep up with that standard. Okay, so there's a big one. The internet is in real time. Everything happens now. Legacy ERP is not native to the internet. It's batch oriented, where take a stack of invoices, enter them in, process those invoices. You need the option to be able to do these things faster. Okay. Network effects is a growing and important topic, and I think it's one you should be aware of. We might not be able to do the math, but we're all familiar with this formula. If we're physicists, we need to do our work. This one isn't as pretty, but it's important. It's as important to you and me as E equals MC squared is to the physicist. It's got a name too. Good move. Back before the internet took off and demonstrated what a positive network effect is, we had to talk in theories. And one of the best ones was from Bob Metcalfe. He invented Ethernet and some other important things. Metcalfe's law states that the value of a network can be calculated by scoring the number of nodes or users on that network. To achieve positive network effects, we want to be connected to as many other users as possible. I wish we had more time for this one. It's a matter of competitiveness and opportunity. You want your system to connect to as many as possible outside of your organization. You also want to connect to all the people in your organization, regardless of their role or title. Everyone on the team needs to know the play being called, and they must be connected in order to benefit from network effects. This goes against a lot of executive instincts. So I encourage you to learn more about it. Serious management literature, HBR, McKinsey, Deloitte, etc., have written extensively on it. Many think this is the key to future competitiveness. If they're right, you want a modern ERP that can participate. Here's what we're used to, though, a one-to-many relationship. It's a comfortable mental model because we're so used to it. We also need to start thinking many-to-many. We can't do what's coming up on the screen right now without technology and the internet. Digital marketplaces are a logical evolution of e-commerce. They're more efficient. B2B marketplaces, by the way, are growing at an annual compounded rate of 89%. Things happen very quickly on the web. The basic idea is that with more buyers, we attract more sellers, and a virtuous cycle develops. We're all familiar with B2C marketplaces, Amazon, Uber, and so on. Sooner or later, a marketplace is going to form, or you're going to want to be on it, or you're going to want to start your own marketplace. This needs the connectivity, again in real time, and that is just difficult or impossible to do with a legacy system. Again, I wish we had a little more time for this one. It's important, it's new, and I think we all need to understand it. Okay, so modern ERPs as web natives can leverage network effects. Legacy systems are based on a networking topology called client-server, and this, because of the nature of the technology, tends to limit the access of users to the system. Okay, now we get to the payoff of doing all this work. The major benefit of building a business management platform around a modern ERP is significant, possibly dramatic improvements in productivity, which is the surest way to ensure happy customers and growing profitability. In the simplest terms, BPA, or business process automation, is trading the fixed cost of a computer program to do the work that we need people for now. But that is just the surface of business process automation's promise. It's also an opportunity to increase individual productivity by making them aware of where their efforts are needed the most at that moment in time. This effectively can break up departmental and data silos that often hinder process improvement. A simple example of business process automation. Okay, how we're doing things now. I'm going to kind of walk through this baby AP process here and compare it, modern to legacy. Alan, this might be interesting to you. To keep this brief, just for the scenario, all the invoices are coming in on an email and a PDF. We can do it with hard copy too, but just keep this brief. We'll do that. So the way it works now, an invoice comes in on email. We print the PDF. We take the paper. We add it to a stack of vendor invoices, for example. Then we take that stack of paper. We walk over to the computer. We enter it in, and then eventually we review it and we update the batch. That batch file I was talking about. On a modern ERP. The ERP opens the PDF, reads the PDF, and it's using the one I'm thinking about. We use artificial intelligence and some machine learning, and the modern ERP enters the invoice for you. Not OCR, but actually enters it in just like a human would. This would including the line items into inventory, and if it only shows the vendor's SKU numbers, we'll convert it into your SKU numbers because we can do stuff like that. The modern ERP would then go on to match the invoice and the PO and to the receiving documents to get a three-way match. In legacy ERP, we're moving paper around. We're matching documents and moving stacks of paper. It takes time. In the modern ERP, the only manual step in this process would be the approval. Since I'm on a modern ERP and I've got an Apple Watch, I could approve something, watching my kid's football game, for example. It's the only use case I can come up with for my watch. Modern ERP, once it has approval, puts the invoice into the payment queue to pay the vendor. Or since it's been fully approved, it just goes ahead and issues an electronic payment to that vendor. We take advantage of discounts or whatever we can get. The modern ERP archived the PDF at the first step. This includes the transaction data and an image of the invoice itself. Since we're on top of a competent database system, we can always find the invoice, 5 days from now or 5 years from now. That's all well and good. If it doesn't resonate until we realize that a lot of organizations, just this process alone can take one or more FTEs or full-time equivalents. Say the modern ERP automation, just for example, we needed one full-time equivalent. Say we just freed up 36 hours of that admin's time, and they only need 4 hours a week to do the AP process. Now, because the modern ERP did most of the work for them. Great. What do? Do we get rid of that person, that FTE? And not at all. With the freed up time, we could put that same person onto AR collections, for example, and improve our cash flow. The cycle never stops. Over time, improvements in productivity can be profound. Compounding productivity, and seriously, once you get this process started, it tends to be a flywheel that keeps running. When creative management teams get their arms around this, it's fun to watch what they can do with it. Okay, so workflow automation, the ability to control the ERP and how it walks users through it is admittedly a little bit of advanced modern ERP, but wow, what you can do with it. If the management or the modern ERP can manage true end-to-end business processes, then we have an opportunity to eliminate departmental and data silos. Processes simply flow to where they need to go, no politics involved. And the SOT, or single source of truth, ensures that everyone stays accountable. Instead of a report, it's a notification on your phone, and modern ERPs are taking data, pushing it into something that's useful information, and then giving you an action item. So instead of reading a report and let's go do this, it's coming back and saying, hey, you need to go make sure the shipment went out, and it's putting it in front of you on your screen or on your phone. Okay, so we're near the runway of my talk here, so as some people say, let's review. Okay. So, in a modern ERP, single source of truth, the transactions that define our business take place in the modern ERP itself. If we can integrate with other digital assets, place roles with others, as a true single source of data truth, if we can follow and enforce our business rules in the modern ERP, if we can operate in real time, again, that's not a requirement, it's an option to operate in real time. Doesn't mean you have to, but when you need to, you have the ability to. It's network effects ready, meaning we can add users and market participants, and we can bring the people in and the opportunities in that we need to see without a lot of hassle. We can create workflows for true end-to-end automated business processes. And if we can check all 6 of those boxes, I think digital transformation. I think that the phrase digital transformation might be a little bit overused right now, but it fits here. More to the point, at least in my mind, an organization that achieves this is more than just digitally transformed. It's an apex competitor in the market, in its market. A modern ERP may sound like a moonshot. It's not. There's a lot of hard work, yes, but it's doable work. The biggest challenge is rethinking the role of ERP and having higher expectations for it. This technology exists now. It's reliable and it's affordable. When that happens, people use it and the level of competition changes. Depends on what side of the field you want to be on, I guess. So with all that we've talked about, firmly in mind, I restated the title of this session a little bit. Kind of a little fun with it. Instead of modern ERP helping your supply chain, use modern ERP and the business management platform it enables to dominate your supply chain and become a digital-first, highly productive organization. My joke came up. I was poking fun at my friends at SC again, but it came up a little fast. Right. Sincerely, thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Here for any questions anybody has. And also our booth's up there. Come by, we'd love to talk to you about it.
What's the booth number? It's right there.
Thank you, everybody.